Most of you are going to have something pop up on your screen that says, yep, I'm okay with it recording. Again, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, go ahead and type those in the chat box, and Marianne and Sally will get to them in just a little bit. All right, so to start us off, welcome. It has taken a lot to get us to this point, but we are happy to share that we are going to be offering overnight camp at Tar Hollow this year after many obstacles, and we are excited about it. So to tell you a little bit about how we got to this decision, it would be a balance of looking at data from 2020 camps that ran while ours did not run in person, as well as looking at some of the risks versus benefits. So in 2020, the American Camp Association, which is like the gold standard, did some research on the camps that did run overnight and day camps. Out of 486 camps that submitted data, 74 of them had incidences of COVID cases reported. What's important to note there is that 102 people out of 90,000 came down with COVID from camp exposure last summer. And they did a good job of using non-pharmaceutical interventions. So those are going to be wearing masks, social distancing, washing hands, any of those things that aren't necessarily the vaccine. Fast forward to 2021, the vaccine is available for adults. And we know a lot more about it. So we know that wearing masks and social distancing is a lot more important than, say, sanitation, according to the CDC. So those are things that we're looking at as we move forward into camp. On the right-hand side, you can see research from camps that were conducted in 2019, which would be our last camping season, specifically in Ohio 4-H camps. And so this would be data that says they either strongly or agree that campers feel like they can be me, that they have someone to look up to. They feel accepted by others. They made new friends. They feel safe. They learned something new. All of those were 93% and above. That's incredible. So we know that kids are feeling good when they're at camp, and that's an important place to take them. Now, what are outcomes from sending your kids to camp? Well, 90% say they can solve problems. 87% say I'm confident in making decisions. 97% say I enjoy doing activities outside, and 97% say I'm interested in being a counselor when they grow up. So we know that good things come out of them going to camp, and we have to weigh those benefits with the risks, knowing that COVID is still out in the world. So how will camp be the same in 2021? We thought a lot about what is essential to 4-H camp. And the number one thing for us is relationships. So this would be when they get to be with people that are like them and different than them and form friendships that last a lifetime. And every single person on this call can probably talk about ridiculous memories from a camp experience that they've had in the past. And they can tell stories that will make them laugh and make them cry. And that's all because of relationships. That part's still going to go on. They're still going to be programming. They're going to be exposed to nature and leadership. They're going to have opportunities to develop self-confidence and mastery and new ideas and new ways. We're going to still be making crafts. There'll still be dancing. We're still going to offer fishing. There's still going to be campfires and flag ceremonies and all of that good stuff. And it's still going to be operated by teens that aren't that much older than them, which is a really unique thing that Ohio 4-H offers. And our teen camp counselors that have been dying to get together have planned some awesome programming, and they understand the guidelines and they are on board for executing them. So they're being trained at least 24 hours on 15 core competencies, just like always. And they hope that your kids come to camp because they want to be at camp and they want to pass their love for camp on to your kids. And finally, personal growth. So like always, camp's going to be a place that stretches their comfort zones. It stretches mine every year. For one, I don't like snakes. And the water is murky at the lake, and you've got to get over that. But so quickly we forget that the water is murky because I'm out there having a good time with my friends. There's a picture of me on an inflatable alligator with Carla X-Line, and it makes me laugh every time. I completely forgot the water was murky then. And those same type of experiences are going to be available for your kids this year. So specifically, kids want to know, but will we have these things? So we will have flags and vespers and campfire. Campfire is going to look different. We're going to use benches and we're going to use chairs. So instead of it being like 2/3 of a circle, it's going to be a full circle this year. There's going to be canoeing and kayaking and swimming. There'll be line dancing. There'll be singing and crafts. They're still going to get a camp t-shirt. And thank goodness they're still going to get big cookies. There will still be the gizmo. There'll still be team building and there'll still be cabin time. So lots of it will be exactly the same as always. And all the rest, the ingredients that you need to have a really good experience. Sally, are you telling me that I need to change what I'm sharing? My screen share?
Yeah, what we're saying is we're not just seeing
Every
we're
time.
seeing both we're seeing your screen instead of the.
Is that better?
There we go. There we go.
Perfect. All right. So it's still going to be different. In 10 years, your kids will be able to say, remember when we had to shower on a schedule? The gizmo was hidden and we had to find it instead of it being passed from camper to camper. Remember when half of us sat on chairs at campfire and we ate every meal spread out all over camp? And there was a tent in the middle of camp. So like these things, this unique group of kids will get to tell stories of camp that'll hopefully never be this way again, but it'll also give them an opportunity to take personal pride to say they've experienced this. Sadly, there are things we won't be doing. First, we'll be taking a hiatus from canteen, which is really sad because I personally look forward to the ice cream breaks almost every day. I definitely feel that way right now. I'm pregnant, but either way, you don't have to send money because we will not be doing canteen this year. There also won't be a large camp picture. We're going to do cabin pictures instead. Sally's got a great plan for it. It's going to be awesome. Because we're going to have less staff on site, there will not be daily Facebook pictures. There will still be some pictures that you guys will be able to see after camp, but we won't be uploading them every day, so don't be looking for those. We won't have our beloved counselor hunt where counselors hide all over camp and campers run around trying to find them. They won't have free time or pick and choose time where they get to run wherever they want on main camp and say, I'm going to go do crafts with my 3 best friends and I'm going to go down to the waterfront and do this. Unfortunately, all of our sessions are going to be in rotations this year. We will be offering meals, but they'll be not in family style dining. So some kids are going to be excited because they don't have to set the tables anymore. So good on them. But we won't be seated, all of us in the dining hall at any point this year. And lastly, we won't have corkles. So if you don't know what the corkles are, they look like a giant sled. They're really inflatable boats. They're not inflatable, they're hard plastic. And we won't be using them this year, basically because we're going to have 2 lifeguards down there instead of 4. And we'll have more adult staff down there, but we know that those things can skip like this up in the air, and we want to make sure that everybody's safe and good. So we're just not going to bring those down there this year. All right. We're going to be taking steps statewide to make sure that all Ohio 4-H camping is safe. So just quickly to gloss over these, and then we'll get into the weeds a little bit more. There's going to be some protocols in place to help you ensure your family is as healthy as can be before you send your campers to us. And our counselors and staff are going to do their best to make sure that they are safe and healthy before they come to camp too. So everybody's hopefully entering feeling really good. Sally, are you letting people in, or Marianne, one of you, give me a thumbs up? Perfect. We're going to make sure that we are following PPE protocols. We're going to talk about masks. We're making modifications to the dining hall and all of our closed spaces to make sure that we can socially distance and follow those guidelines. Most of our program will be outside. Good news. That's not any different than every other year. We love to be outside. Sally even likes to do rain dances in the middle of the rain. So, you know, we're going to have that going on this year. We will keep campers in small groups. We're going to call them cabin groups in our world. So most of the time they'll be with their cabins. That doesn't mean they won't see other people and they won't get to play with other kids. It just means most of the time they're going to be in their small groups. We'll have cleaning and disinfecting stations all over camp. We counted and had to put this in on a plan. There are 30 some sinks, and we will have 25 additional hand sanitizers on site. So there's plenty of opportunity for people to sanitize. We'll be making sure that our schedule allows for proper sanitization times. And then we'll be staggering the use of some of our bathroom facilities and shower facilities to make sure that people can get through and have access to that. Okay, let's talk about capacity. So this was one of the big debates of how many people can we pack into camp is normally how we operate. Sally likes to say that she always calls up Marianne and is like, can we fit just one more camper, just one more? But this year we will be making sure that we only use 6 bunks instead of 8 in each of the cabins. That means for most of the cabins, there will be 5 campers and 1 counselor. Some cabins might have 2 counselors and 4 campers, but for the most part, we're trying to keep it at that. There is a chance that the guidelines will change between now and camp. And if they do change, we may or may not be able to squeeze 1 more person in there. They might go up to 7, but chances are they'll be closer to 6. This is based on Ohio State University's rule that every person needs to have 30 square feet of space in any covered space that we have. In order to help accommodate that, when you're down at main camp, we are adding a 20-foot by 40-foot tent in front of the lodge. It's being donated by Higley Tents. We are super grateful. Be looking for that. Too bad we're not doing a circus theme under the big top, missed opportunity. But we'll be using that tent for a lot of different things. You'll find that it's going to be part of the registration process. It's going to be used for meals when groups get to go out around camp and eat in the shade. It will be used in the event that there is rain, not necessarily a true thunderstorm, but rain. And just another place that won't be beat down in the sun. So we're excited about that. Cabin groups. So no more than 10 people for now is what the current guidance is. We are monitoring that all the time. And again, these are Ohio State University guidelines. So oftentimes they're a little bit stricter than what perhaps CDC or the governor even is saying. So for now, we'll be keeping people in cabin groups. Let me tell you how this is going to work. Most of our activities will be in small group rotations. That's not a problem. They will have an awesome cabin counselor and they will be with their friends. And then there'll be times where they get to go to large group activities together, such as swimming or crafts or volleyball. So maybe everybody's down there doing that activity together, but for the most part, you're going to stay with the people that are in your cabin. And Sally does a great job, in case you didn't know, with doing cabin assignments. So they'll be with their friends. You get to request up to 2. So please do your daisy chaining well and know that the number this year is going to be 6 total, so likely 5. So be careful about that when you're doing your daisy chaining, where you're tricking everybody and writing the names in a circle so that everybody gets in your cabin, which is Sally's favorite thing to see come in. Okay, next we're going to talk about masks. So I know that this is a hard one for a lot of people, and I don't blame you. For the record, we had our camp counselors raise their hands if they like the fact that they're wearing masks, and all of us raised our hands. Nope, nobody likes wearing masks. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you agree with it or disagree with it. We're wearing masks at camp. So we need you to plan to send your camper with masks, 1 per day that they'll be at camp. So they're at camp 4 days total, right? Move-in day, 2 days in the middle, move-out day. I'm sure you guys are counting this at home because you're like, freedom, or you're like, less dishes or less laundry for just a couple days. Either way, please make sure you pack 2 extra masks per child, and even better if they have their names on them in Sharpie, specifically that Sharpie part, because we're anticipating that, like you find at ball games and at schools, most of the time they'll keep them on, but some kids are going to take them off and they're going to forget them where they are, and we'll need to pick them up and return them. So help us out by sending extras in case they get dirty or wet, and then also to make sure their names are on them. Currently, they don't have to wear them inside cabins. They obviously don't wear them when they're showering. They don't wear them at water activities, including kayaking and canoeing. And they don't have to wear them in high energy activities when they're in their cabin group. So if they're all out playing an intense game of freeze tag and it's just their cabin groups, then they won't have to wear them. Also, in any outdoor activity that can ensure proper spacing, so nature hikes, yoga, any of those things where we have control over how far apart people are. And for the most part, we have already figured out ways to make this happen. The kids, our camp counselors brainstormed at least 40 different small group activities that they can do that they are excited about. So we're not that worried about it, to be honest. Again, it'll look different, but it'll be okay. Last thing I'll say about that is there is guidance from the CDC on what masks are acceptable and what masks are not acceptable, and we are required to follow it. So I'm just going to draw your attention to the not acceptable list where you see gaiters. So currently, Ohio 4-H is not permitting gaiters to be worn at camp as your facial covering. It has to be a cloth or fabric, and it has to cover their nose, mouth, and chin. And we're coming up with funny phrases to help kids comply, like your snout is out kind of things. So it's, again, one of those things that if you want to send your kid to camp this year, we will be following these guidelines for now until OSU gives us different directives. Camp is still a month and a half away. So there's a chance that they'll say something like, if you're in any outdoor activity, you don't have to wear masks. But for now, we are going to play by these rules. Let's talk about meals. So cafeteria style lunch lines, woohoo! Most kids already know how to do this. It will be quick and easy. They will be slowly releasing kids to do that. We'll be primarily using disposable products this year. That would be think like the restaurant boxes that you get for your leftovers. And I believe there's disposable silverware. Yes or no, Sally?
We actually, I think, are going to use the real silverware and then collect it and hope it makes its way back inside so we can wash it.
Random everywhere. Can't wait. I believe that we are using camp cups and we'll be managing that. There will be no buffet lines. There will not be a salad bar, a fruit bar, or a cereal bar. Don't worry. Dessert is still included. And as a reminder, this is only 3.5 days. We're going to demonstrate resiliency. Nobody's going to starve. If you're very concerned about this, reach out to Sally before camp and she can talk you through what the menu will be and how to work around that. Okay, health protocols. We have 3 great nurses on staff and at least 2 will be there at all times. All the nurses have been on staff for years now. The nurses will be available at the end of our presentation for a breakout room to answer any questions that you have. They would love to talk to you in advance about anything going on with your kid. We want to set them up for success at camp or elsewhere. So it's important to have those conversations before you arrive at camp. So again, we have Bill Speakman, Carla Exline, and Courtney Hines. And again, they're available before camp to meet with you and talk about anything. Medicines are going to be distributed very much so like normal. It'll just be a slightly different location. Since we're not having canteen, they're going to funnel in there and out of there just like they've never done before, but it'll be neat for them. All right, so pre-camp, campers are encouraged to reduce high-risk exposure activities 2 weeks before camp. So we're telling you that, and we hope that you take that seriously, but we also know there's family vacations and graduations and. So that is a family choice, and we won't be doing anything. You don't have to sign anything to say that that happened, but please be intentional about it. Staff members, counselors, or campers with a fever of 100.4 degrees or higher, or any other COVID symptom, will not be allowed to attend camp. If staff or campers have been in close contact with someone who's tested positive for COVID-19, they can't attend camp unless they've had the vaccine. So for example, if I'm going to pick on Sally, Sally goes to a party with her very best friend and her best friend ends up having COVID, but Sally is double vaccinated and she's fine. Sally can still come to camp. At this point, that's Ohio State's ruling. So it doesn't matter if Sally's been exposed to someone that does have it. If she has the vaccine, she's fine. As recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics, pediatricians are the best people to go to advise families on whether it's safe for a child to attend camp based on his or her medical history, and should make sure the child is up to date on their vaccines, as we always encourage you to do. During camp, so regular illnesses will be handled like normal, which basically means you check off through the health form what medicines that are over the counter you're comfortable with our nursing staff providing for your kid. You can also make notes like, please call if. In general, we call the parents if it's anything that we feel like is not normal, like average, like I just have a headache or I have a stomach ache because I've refused to use the restroom here at camp for the past 3 days, anything like that. If anybody has a head injury, we always call home. Like if they fall out of a bunk, which all the bunks have bed rails, so that hasn't been a problem in a few years, but if that was a problem, we would immediately call you regardless of whether we thought it was a real concern or not. If someone's suspected of COVID-19, they will be isolated in the nurse's cabin and the parent and guardian called. The goal is to help them leave camp as soon as possible to reduce the risk of anyone else being exposed. The parent or guardian will be notified and they do need to be available to pick up the child, which means as tempting as it is for you to go on a 3-day cruise while your kid is at camp, that cannot happen unless you have a good backup plan for somebody to come to camp and get them if need be. Camp will then notify Ross County Health Department and Ohio State University leadership for anyone who tests positive and will follow any expected guidelines they put out. Any exposed areas will then undergo deep sanitation. So at this point, unless there's a giant COVID outbreak, which we totally don't think will happen, everybody won't be contacted about it. We'll just take care of the situation just like we would if a kid had a stomach bug. Sanitation. High-use areas will be sanitized at least 4 times a day. So think like door handles, restrooms, shower houses, like tables that they're sitting at. And again, we talked about that there will be additional hand sanitizing stations across camp. And then the cabins will be fogged. If you haven't seen those cool fogger things that you like spray and they dry in like 15 seconds or less, they'll be fogged in between camps. So junior camp to senior camp, it'll be fogged, and then it'll be fogged between, I said that backwards. It's senior camp to junior camp, and then junior camp to Pickaway County coming in, because Pickaway County is the only other county that is camping down there under 4-H guidelines this year. Let's talk about arrival. This is going to be different, so brace yourselves. You will parade down like normal in your vehicle. Someone will be at the bottom of the hill at camp. They will be instructing you to park in really pretty close lines in front of the lodge, and you are to remain in your vehicle. A staff member will come around and do a total health assessment of the camper, which we'll show you in a minute, and then temperature check the camper and the one parent or guardian who is exiting the vehicle. One parent or guardian is allowed to exit the vehicle with the camper or campers. And everybody that's exiting the vehicle has to have a mask on. Then they'll proceed to check in with their campers. You will slowly be released after you've had your health assessment to do the camper lice check in the tent by Carla. You'll do get your cabin assignment, and you have to sign a COVID acknowledgement that basically says, I recognize that COVID-19 is out in the world, and I understand the risks associated with sending my kid to camp, and I'm choosing to still send them. And you'll sign your waiver. You'll head back to your vehicle to get your gear, and that one parent or guardian and camper can head up to the cabin. Only the camper and counselor can enter the cabin. So the wording is like in the official plan that only residents of the cabin may enter, which basically means parents are not allowed in the cabin. Then the parent or guardian leaves, and we are discouraging chit chat with your old friends, which stinks so much because so many of you are alumni of camp and want to use that opportunity to connect with your peers and to swap old stories and to laugh about somebody rolling down the hill in the mud. But unfortunately, we have to do our best to discourage that this year. This is what the health screening form looks like. So it asks if you have any of these symptoms. I joke with my camp counselors that they should be taking allergy medicine before they come to camp, so that way it is not misconstrued as COVID-19. But that is a real concern that our counselors have and that you will have as parents. So again, they have to take these symptoms seriously, so be mindful of that. And then for pickup, it's going to be different too. Normally we pile everybody in the lodge and they're all behind the tables and they've got all their gear packed in there. And then they're banging on the tables, get your kids, right? Can't do that this year. Can't do that. Instead, you'll parade down to camp, you'll park in front of the lodge, you'll remain in your vehicle, you'll slowly be released to the tent to pick up meds, if that's something that's relevant for your family. And then you'll proceed to the bottom of the hill to pick up your camper and their belongings, whichever hill or hills you get to go to. You return to the vehicle and you depart. Please, again, don't chit chat with other families. I know that that's hard. If it's raining, this plan doesn't work quite as well. If it's sprinkling, so be it. But if it's like pouring down rain, like it's been known to do at camp, you'll receive an email by 8 a.m. that morning outlining the instructions, which Sally will have drafted and hopefully not have to send, but luck will have it that you guys will end up going to different places in camp. So it might say that Hill 1 is checking out at the craft shelter. Hills 2 and 3 are in the lodge. Hill 4 is in the tent. It could look something like that. So just hope that that doesn't happen and it'll be fine. Okay, registration is online only, May 1st to June 1st. Now I will point out that May 1st at 12:01 is the middle of the night on Saturday morning before livestock tag-ins. Let's just acknowledge that that is a thing. So I will be answering email over the weekend. I'm sure that Sally and Marianne will also be checking their email, but know that we will get back to you as soon as we can, but that there are other things going on this weekend. It will be open until June 1st. It's important that you think about enrolling your kid earlier than later this year if you're doing it, because there are limited spaces specifically for boys going to senior camp. But in general, there are limited spaces, right? But normally in a cabin, Sally will stick 1 or 2 cots in there. So you're up to like 9 campers, no problem. And we're going to be at 5 this year in each cabin. So be intentional about making this a priority this weekend if it is something that you're interested in. There is a Go link to register. That's out. It's also on the back page of the hotline if you're interested in that, and in the hotline. The dates, the grades, and the fees are on this chart. Make sure you're enrolling your child in the camp for their current grades. So Garrett T. Wells is currently in 5th grade. He will enroll in junior camp. Even though he's going into senior camp age level grade, he is going to go to junior camp because he's still a 5th grader right now when he's enrolling. Does that make sense? Great. No teen camp will be offered in 2021. Fees include camp t-shirt, but not the camp picture. Again, we will be posting the cabin pictures at a later date. Make sure you check that box when you do online registration, that you're okay with your picture, your child's picture being out there, the photo release, but it will not be the large group picture. Campers must be present the entire time. They cannot leave and go to a practice or a game, or when grandma comes to visit. They have to be present the whole time. And that's because programming is set up that way. So there's things that we do throughout camp to help build up for our culminating night at campfire. And if kids miss that, they really don't understand what's going on at campfire, and it kind of messes things up. Additionally, with COVID, we can't let that happen anyways, because there's all those protocols we need to put in place to get people back with their cohort group. Scholarship applications are a part of the registration process. So instead of it being a separate application this year, when you go to register your camper, there will be a scholarship question in there that takes you to like a separate page where you can answer all those questions. Scholarships will not be awarded until after the June 1st deadline. You'll know within a week. It'll likely be a lot shorter than that, but you'll know within a week. If you can, go ahead and put in your payment. A lot of people will pay with credit cards or debit cards. And when we award scholarships, that money will automatically be refunded back onto your card. If you choose not to go that route and pay by card, that's okay. You can wait and not pay, but your spot isn't guaranteed then. So if we fill up and you haven't dropped off your payment to the office, you're not considered registered, so you won't have a full spot. So somehow payment needs to be in for your kid, and then we'll refund you anything else. Marianne, am I missing anything there?
There their payment, if they choose not to do the Nelnet at that time, their payment needs to be in as soon as possible, not by June 1st,
Good
in
clarification.
order to hold that spot.
And when Marianne is saying Nelnet, that's the system we're using to process credit card payments, so or debit cards. So if you're not paying by card through that system, then you need to get your payment in within a couple days, or you won't be able to keep your spot. Thank you. Okay, health forms are also online this year. They have to be fully completed in order to be considered registered, and they must include your tetanus shot. There's helpful hints in parentheses on the form to help you figure that out. You can do it. Health form photos will be taken on site at camp in true 70s style, like our theme, with a Polaroid. So that's exciting. You don't have to upload a picture of your kid. Again, this isn't our favorite, but no matter what, one parent per vehicle can get out. If you bring multiple kids in one vehicle, you will have the great opportunity to climb multiple hills. Parents won't be permitted in the cabins. What a great opportunity for campers to learn to make their own beds. Counselors will help them. Again, life skills are learned at camp. And again, all three of these are statewide policies. We did not make that decision here at the local level. You're welcome to pack your kids' stuff and have them haul it up the hill, and you don't have to go up with them if you want. You could drive in separate vehicles if you bring multiple kids, but ultimately they will be only letting one adult out and doing the health assessment with them. So please be respectful of this rule. Please, 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 please trust that this will still be epically fun, that the tradition of 4-H camping will live on, that our nursing staff is fabulous, our counselors are well-trained and so excited to meet your kids, that we have a camp staff that's been built over years and years with tons of experience, that endless hours are going into planning a safe and fun camp, just like every year, but especially this year, that your child will learn, grow, and play, mostly things you want them to learn, and that there will be memories and friendships that last a lifetime. So I know that it feels different, like whether you are worried about COVID or you hate that there's any guidelines, there are people on both sides of the spectrum that are uncomfortable with what's in place. What I'm asking you to do and what Sally's asking you to do is to just trust us that we're working our best to make camp as normal as possible and as safe as possible, which is always first on our list. So at this time, we're going to take questions for just a couple minutes. If you could type them in the chat box, Sally and Marianne are going to help field those. And then after that, we're going to go to breakout sessions. One will be to review how to do registrations step by step. And the other one will be to talk to our camp nurses. And when you talk to our camp nurses, if you have like a general question or an easy question, they'd be happy to help you. Otherwise, they just want to help schedule time to talk to you about your child's specific concerns. So again, we're going to take general questions for now, and then we will switch pages in about 5 minutes. And Marianne and I are going to go through the registration process, and the nurses are going to go to a separate breakout room with Sally and talk through any medical concerns.
Okay, so we have a couple questions. One is, does your child have to have a tetanus shot before registering or attending camp? The answer to that, according to Ohio State University, is yes. They need to be current on their tetanus shots, and so you'll want to have that date. A lot of times, if you look at the year that they were went to kindergarten, they had to have all those shots before they go into kindergarten, and that's one of the shots that they have. The next really good question that I think everybody will be wondering is about things to pack and to not pack this year. So we always have like a list of things to pack and not pack, and Katie, you can jump in anytime. But specifically, they're wondering about snacks and juice pouches and beverages, which is a concern because our camps are in June and it is really hot. So you want to chime in on that one? You want me to take that one?
I can take that
Here's
one.
one thing, whatever they bring to camp, they have to take it, they have to haul up the hill. So you'll want to think about that. So it's like how much heavy stuff that they want to take up the hills. And in reverse, when they leave, whatever they take, and then if they have extras or whatever, they need to haul back down off the hills. But
The thing to add
oh,
to
go
that
ahead.
is they have to have their mask on if outside their cabin at this point. So the only time they're going to be able to eat snacks is when they're in their cabin and basically sitting on their beds, right? Because they have to be seated to eat. That's the rule that we're training our counselors. And only the kids that are in their cabin are allowed in their cabin, right? Only the residents of that housing facility are allowed in there, which is why parents can't go in. So if I were a parent, I would still want to send snacks. I would send pre-packaged snacks. My mother-in-law, Kathy Wells, makes the best every kind of baked good in the entire world. And anybody that's had it will attest to that. But this is not the year for Kathy Wells to be sending brownies with Garrett to camp. It is the year for me to go buy fruit by the foot and to send a bunch of that to camp and things like that. So pre-packaged food that they can grab and eat on their bunks is probably best, or on their front porch or something like that.
And like bringing the juice pouches or something to drink, we are real big proponents. We call it hydration is fun at camp. And so we always want to make sure that the kids are getting enough to drink. So water is actually probably one of the best things actually that you can be drinking when you're at camp.
Fact.
And let's see. So will Cloverbuds be able to pick their friends to be with in their small groups or not? Their registration process will be really similar to what we've done in the past. It'll be spaced out, but they don't sign up for a friend before, but we will try to group them together when they get to camp. Because I don't think,
So yes,
I think on,
I think it's yes.
yeah.
Try and arrive and walk up to the table to that color together.
Yes. And we love for our Cloverbuds to have a friend to go with, because you know what? And honestly, and they are a lot more comfortable coming if they can bring a buddy. And I'm gonna also let everybody know, in case you're not aware, for Cloverbud camp only, you do not have to be enrolled in 4-H to bring a friend to come to Cloverbud camp. You do for junior and senior camp, but for Cloverbud, you don't. So, maybe they have a friend, or maybe they have a buddy or a cousin or something, and they would love to come to camp with them. This gives them the experience to not only just experience camp, but the experience like some 4-H, and then maybe it'll encourage them to want to join 4-H later. So like just kind of throwing that out there. Katie, will there be an area to refill water bottles?
Yes, so we will have coolers like always, that basically instead of every kid walking up and touching that nozzle, there'll be a awesome staff member posted there with the only job is to run that nozzle. So absolutely, yes. Disposable masks are acceptable, that's fine. We'll be handing them out if you don't, but please do bring them. What else can we answer?
Anybody else? We're just super excited that we are able to offer this opportunity for our kiddos to come to camp. And as a secondary piece, we are excited that we're able to offer the parents a chance to like send their kids to camp to get the memories, and then you guys can enjoy your little time too. It's part of. We love having your kids down there. It's a fact. We have such a good time.
Okay. We can still answer questions. You can email them in. But for now, we are going, pick up time and drop off time haven't been established 100% yet. It'll be very comparable to normal though. It is late afternoon for drop off and mid-morning for pickup. So don't like write this in stone, but it'll be approximately 4 o'clock for drop off and approximately 10:30 for pickup. Is that fair, Sally?
Mhm.
Any other questions?
We will be sending out a newsletter, like after the, your camper gets registered, that'll have, like specific details. Like you guys have asked a lot of good questions about like the snacks and things that hold true every year. Like, they still have to wear closed-toed shoes. That's just, that's something that happens every year. So a lot of those things are still the same.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the nurses breakout room, but I need to tell you how that's going to work. So if you want to go there, you can type in the chat that you want to go there, and Marianne and I will help you get there before we get started with registration. Or if you know how to get to a breakout room, that'll be great. Otherwise, if you just want to be talked through how to register, we're going to stay on and do that. Or you guys can head off, whatever you want. If you're like, I'm good, I'll figure out registration. Awesome, you can leave. If you have no nurses questions, awesome, you can leave. But for now, we're going to send people that have questions for the nurses specifically to a breakout room. And then we're going to do step by step on registration. So I'm opening the breakout room. And anybody can go there, or you can request in the chat to be sent there. John's iPhone, I'm not sure what you meant by can my kids bring stuff that I brought? I'm mildly concerned. It's the same stuff that CJ White and Dan Wells brought? No. Fact.
I'm like, if it's like packaged snacks, yeah, but if it's
Okay. Carla, I'm going to send you there too.
Katie, were we CJ White laughing?
Okay. The rest of us,
Are we done recording right now, or
I'm going to record the registration process.
registration?
Yeah. Good point though. All right. So hopefully if you need to get into the nurses thing, somebody's helping you with that. If not, we're going to go right on to registration. So this is what it's going to look like. It says all registrations must be in by June 1. They won't be considered complete until you have your registration form, your health form, your camper release card, and your payment in full. All of that is embedded in this system. So you may or may not realize that you've moved on to the health form, but all of that's in there. Payment options are on the final page of the survey. They include a credit and debit card option, or you can do a personal check. If you're going to do those things, if you're going to do the personal check, you need to make sure that you mail it like ASAP. And if you're not going to go that route, which is fine, you can drop it off at our office. There is a lockbox outside the door, but a lot of people won't be comfortable with that. So you can also call ahead and make sure someone's there to receive your payment. This is registration for all of your camps. You can click which one you want. Senior camp or junior camp or Cloverbud camp, and the prices are there. It also says which one specifically then, and you click it there. Then you say, are you a boy or a girl? You put in your camper information, camper first name, last name, age as of today, and what grade they're in. Now I'm going to tell you that if you enter it correctly here, Marianne is slick and has set it up so that it will automatically populate for you later, so you don't have to keep retyping it. So take a minute, capitalize things correctly, make sure it's spelled right, and you'll be set as we go forward. Next, you need to pick your camper t-shirt size. So we offer anything from U small all the way to adult 3X, whatever works there. And you pick your camper club name. So today I am going to be in Blue Ribbon. What a great club. I hope I turned that off, Marianne, the validation thing. There's going to be things that pop up if you have not correctly filled this out that says, please answer this question. But for tonight, I'm going to skip that because Marianne taught me how. But all these things are going to show up that say, please answer this question, and they won't let you move on until you do. You can exit the survey and come back later if like you're making dinner and then you get sidetracked, that's okay. So what school do they attend? I go to Chillicothe Middle School. And I'm putting in my street address and the first parent or guardian name. This is mandatory, all these fields, and an additional contact. All these fields are mandatory. So you're putting mom and dad, you're putting grandma, grandpa, whoever you put in there, make sure you're doing it. And then you can put
Also take, wait a minute, Katie, back up there on the email. Since you're taking your time to make sure the information you're typing in is correct, double check your email address, because this is what we're going to use to send you additional information. Yeah, that is how you'll get your registration confirmation. There's
And your
a
parent
couple other
letter.
things that will come, so be sure that you check that, make sure it's entered correctly.
Sally and I are holding off on sending out your information. You're like, typically when you register, you get a newsletter right away that says, here's your next steps. Like, this is your packing list. But because we are hoping that guidelines change just a little bit more, and also because camp is now 25 days away from the last date you can register, or 20 some days, 21 days, we want to hold off sending you things. And then when we do send you things, we want you to get it quick. So that email is going to be our primary means of communication. So please put down an email address correctly and put down one that you're actually going to check. Both those things will be important. Okay, thanks, Marianne. Cabin mates.
Yes.
You get to put down 2. It is important that they put down your names too. Do you see how that could be? So if I'm filling this out for my kid, I need to make sure that it says Marianne Guthrie and Sally Bluck, and then that Sally Bluck says Kate Wells and Marianne Guthrie, and Marianne Guthrie says Kate Wells and Sally Bluck. That was a little tricky. I can't believe I pulled that off. The next thing you have to do is sign off that your kid's going to behave at camp, which they will. This stuff will populate then. If I had typed it in, it would automatically populate here. So you wouldn't have to type it in again. Only make changes if the information's incorrect. So if you're like, well, shoot, I left out, an L in Wells. You can change it here, but you really should go back and change it in the previous one too, because it'll change throughout the whole system. And then any new field that wouldn't have been filled out previously will be like this, that you can add in information. So again, all of this will be filled out. What's your county of residence? You'll type in Ross or one of our surrounding counties if you're cross county lines. You'll type in your you'll click what biological sex, the age as of today. Again, most of this stuff is going to populate. See how it's in red and it tells you that? You'll add any additional emergency contact information. You'll do at least one. The second one is optional. It'll tell you that, don't worry. And then it asks for your doctor's name, your dentist's name, all the dates if you've had communicable diseases, and ask you for your immunization vaccine record. This is where you put in that tetanus date. Marianne, we might want to put the date format in there.
Okay.
And if you're not up to date, somebody had asked the tetanus question. If you're not up to date, you have to fill out the Ohio 4-H immunization exemption form, which you'll click. Basically, is the participant currently up to date with immunizations? You'll click no, and then it'll take you to another form. It's real slick. Like that. So there's the exemption form. This is medications. So if you have medications or if you need to add more, there's a blank in here to write it, but essentially it says, what is it? How much do they get and how often? And again, the nurse, if it's any medicine they're not very familiar with, more than like an allergy pill, they're going to call you before camp and have a chat with you. You check any conditions that they might have. You check any allergies that they might have. Allergies are important because poison ivies are really frequent flyer down at camp. And then it does say, if participant's allergy may require use of an EpiPen, then the participant must provide the EpiPen and discuss possible administration of the EpiPen with the healthcare provider when they get there. Okay, moving right along. We're halfway there. Check below if the participant displays any of the following behaviors. So none of these say you can't come to camp. They're just going to help your kid be more successful at camp potentially, or provide an opportunity for our nursing staff or our counseling staff to give you a call before they arrive. If they have a behavior plan, you can upload it from school. It's not required. There are different accommodations you can request for camp. So if any of these apply, you can do that, or you'll click, I do not require any special accommodations right down here at the bottom. You have an opportunity to describe those more in depth here, but again, anything you check like that, you're just going to get a follow-up phone call. This is medical history, any camp activities the kid shouldn't be able to participate in. So Susie broke her arm, she really shouldn't be jump roping. Great, thanks for letting us know. Any of that kind of stuff. These are over-the-counter meds. You'll check if you are comfortable with a health professional administering them to your kid. So for example, they get a scratch, can they put Neosporin on them? They have a headache, can they give them Advil or Tylenol? Any of that kind of stuff. This is emergency medical consent, same as always. You put the kid's name in here. Photo release, name of child, you put your name and then you sign. Look at this. Isn't that just, when you sign with your fingers on your phones, which most of you are going to do, it's going to look like this. It's fine. And then you put the date in, and Marianne has the format there. Same thing down here. There are different activities that your kid's participating in and you're fine with it. Same situation. We're getting there. We're really making progress. Again, this has to be done for every kid, but Marianne has it set up so that a lot of your information will pull forward. This is your camper release form. So this is who you're giving permission for an adult to pick up your kid from camp. So say you get held up at work or something and you have to send someone else. That's fine. They need to have already had their name and contact information on here. If a camper has to leave early, note, only a last day of camp option. So say they're leaving on that last day. Are you picking them up at 7? Are you picking them up at 8:52? We need to know so that we can have their stuff ready and down and packed so that you can just swing by and pick them up and go. All right. Would you like to apply for assistance with camp fees? Marianne, do you think I should go through this form?
It probably wouldn't hurt. There's probably some people that didn't even know that this was an option.
Good, okay. So if you're interested in a scholarship, there are donors around the county that help provide for this. The Harps donate, the Garys donate. Am I forgetting people, Marianne? Kiwanis helps pay for some.
That's typically the annuals, yes.
Yep, so we've got some money available because we don't want that to be the obstacle that keeps a kid from coming to camp. So if that's the case, they ask, again, all this information is going to be pre-populated. So you're going to see how it says attending Chillicothe Middle School because I selected that. Club name, blue ribbon. Yours will be the exact same way. Boy, girl, camper mailing address. So all the basics already populates in there. And then it goes to, please upload a picture of the front of your federal tax return, cover the social security numbers. So you can take a picture of that with your phone. You can also use the notes section of your phone and scan it like a document, and you'll just click there and upload it. It's super easy.
And it is only the front page. We do not need the whole tax return.
Good point, just the front page. If they're in free and reduced lunch, WIC, SNAP, again, all this information is kept extremely confidential. Not even all the people in the office see it. There's like 1 or 2 of us that look at it and make decisions, and we go from there. So please know that we take confidentiality very seriously. Any additional income supporting documentation, it talks about what kind of assistance you might be receiving, number of people in your household, are you planning to send many kids to camp? And then why do you think your family should receive a 4-H scholarship? So that doesn't have to be like a 4-page essay. It just needs to, list why this is relevant for your family. It's pretty painless. So now you get into the fees processing part. So we're going to pretend like we're doing a debit card. I should have just registered it.
Before you get into this, Katie,
Yep.
we've got a question on if your child gets waitlisted and doesn't get to attend camp, will the registration fee be refunded? I believe that I have set it up that if you are waitlisted, you do not go through the payment process. It is only if you were contacted to fill one of those spots that you will go through the payment process. I need to go in and verify that fact. But I believe that's how it's set up. So there wouldn't be any payment if you're waitlisted.
Good.
And how close to camp can they change who is going to pick them up?
So you put a couple names in there. And if ultimately that changes, you'll just call or email the office and we'll make a note of it. Ideally, that wouldn't happen, right? Ideally, you're going to put like people that you know are going to be available on those days. But we understand, at least in this household, things come up unexpectedly. And so if that happens, we would call the office and we'd say, Mary Ann, can you please let Sally know that Kathy Wells is going to pick up Garrett instead? And it would be fine. Hope that answers your question. Okay, so I picked debit or credit card. You have elected to pay by debit or credit card. Select the first option below. Click submit. Please wait while you are redirected. I'm going to pass the torch right over to Mary Ann now.
And back where she clicked and it was blank, yours will not be blank. It will tell you exactly what camp, what the dates are, and what the price was. At that point, it will come over here. It will fill in with your name, your camper's name, all of that stuff. The payment process is on there. You'll click, or the payment amount. You'll click on continue, or
Well,
Katie will. All of this information will need to be filled in. It will not be a pre-fill. So whatever name is on the card, this items and services will be filled in. Wait a minute, you didn't go forward. Oh, you have to. Okay, I'm sorry.
Now I can click continue.
You won't have to go through all that process though. Understand that. It will already be filled out for you with the exception of the name that's on the credit card you're using. Again, you'll put this information down through here, fill it out, billing address, all of the typical information that's requested. A contact phone and a contact email address.
That's how you're going
And
to
then
get
do
yours.
your,
And if there's a problem, they're going to give you a call.
correct. Upon hitting submit, continue, and you don't want to do that, Katie.
No.
Upon hitting continue, it will go ahead and process your payment. You should receive an immediate notice of what you paid for and that it's processed. At that point, you would be registered for camp.
Oh, Mary Ann, pick me, pick me.
Woohoo!
What happened
Go ahead.
when that doesn't work for me, maybe? Because maybe my
Oh.
device doesn't work.
Well, you're going to get an error. And then instead of going back in and trying to enter all the information again, because it didn't take you to the payment site, you will give me a call at the office and I will give you or send to you, actually. You can send me an email or you can call and I will send you a link that is just a generic, it won't have anything filled in for you. But it'll be a generic pay site. And there
And
are,
if you wait till Monday to do that.
correct. Typically the problems that have been found have been with Apple items.
Which most of us
So,
have.
exactly. So be aware that that could be a problem. Don't panic. It's all good.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's the gist of it. Does anybody have any last minute questions for us? We'll always be available via email, Facebook Messenger. If you have my cell phone, you're welcome to text it. We are here to make this work. If not, toodaloo, have a great night. That's
Bye,
right, I'm
everybody.
like Forrest Gump on the dock, like, see you, bye, Lieutenant Dan. Sorry.
You're welcome.